In Fallout 3, we can come across many different types of settlements. The human spirit remains in the wasteland, and we can interact with the people who call the waste home. One of the most welcoming towns in the capital wasteland is Andale. The people here seem to have open arms for the lone wanderer, and that is what makes the location so unnerving on first arrival. Why is there such an idyllic suburb in the middle of the wasteland? The people of Andale have a secret, which explains why no visitors stay for very long. They are a community of cannibals, which we can discover by searching the shed in town. Once we leave the shed though, a hostile Jack Smith will accost the lone wanderer, and if we have the cannibal perk, we can instantly pass a speech check with Jack, avoiding combat.
Hey there, stranger. I got something I want to talk to you about. I couldn't help but notice that you were poking around in Bill's shed. So, did you find what you were looking for in there? You're right, it sure would have. You know, you're a breath of fresh air. Every time someone discovers our little secret, we have to hear about it. It's always, oh, how can you do this? Or, you're such terrible people. Or, please not me, I have a kid in Rivet City. Well, I have kids too. Family first, that's the way it works in Andale from the day that the first 4 families decided to stay here. You're not bad, stranger. Stop on by anytime and ask Linda for one of her special meat pies.
In Fallout New Vegas, when we reach the Big Empty, we can find many technological wonders that await the courier around nearly every corner. Still, there were a few things cut from the DLC for one reason or another that would have added some spice to the gameplay of Old World Blues. 2 rifles were cut from the final game that act quite differently than anything else we find in Fallout New Vegas. The first one we will be looking at is the Spider Rifle, which launches spider mines, as seen in Fallout 3, at our enemies. These little guys will run up to hostile NPCs and explode, causing some nice damage in the process. I consider this one the less interesting of the 2 rifles. The spider bots are a fun way to fight battles, but they are weak overall, though their explosion does handle business. The other cut gun based on arachnids is the Scorpion Rifle. This launches mini robo-scorpions into battle, much like we see with the spider mines. However, the scorpions are a bit stronger and will change between close range and laser attacks to fight hostiles. I understand completely why these rifles were cut from the final game. Still, it's always fun to see what could have been and take a look at the cutting room floor to see what the devs left behind. Though for some, who may not like creepy crawlies, it's probably good that these guns were cut. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One will come to many settlements and talk to all kinds of people. The game monitors your interactions and choices, adding to your karma and reputation ratings. Each location we visit has its own opinion of the Chosen One. Still, there are reputation titles we can get throughout Fallout 2 that will apply more broadly, one of which is triggered by taking out as many people as you can. Suppose the Chosen One kills at least 25 people, with the number of characters with good karma being at least double the number of bad. In that case, we will receive the Berserker reputation. This title is supposed to reward the player by making bad or evil characters react better in dialogue. Still, because no characters are actually flagged as bad in Fallout 2, the reputation just ends up making every NPC like you a little less. The classic Fallout games have a couple of bugs like this. Still, this scenario can take a little bit of the fun out of an evil playthrough, unless you just want everyone to dislike you anyways. In the original Fallout, we take the role of a vault dweller in Vault 13. The story starts right after we are chosen to be the one to exit the vault for the first time and venture into the wasteland to find a working water purification chip, as Vault 13's is defunct and they will soon be out of drinking water. The vault dweller learns during their travels that the Master has created an army of super mutants with the forced evolutionary virus, and these mutants are being actively created at Mariposa military base. Humans are dipped in vats of goo and transformed into the monstrosities that fill out the ranks of the Master's army. Now, if this all sounds appealing to you, Fallout caters to that by allowing the Vault Dweller to head to Mariposa and talk to the Lieutenant, a boss mutant who's the project's foreman. During this conversation, the mutant leader will be very adamant about learning the location of Vault 13. FEV has superior effects on clean or non-radiated humans, and a sealed Vault Tech shelter is bound to be filled with them. With one of my favorite examples of player freedom in any game, the Vault Dweller can tell the Lieutenant the location of Vault 13, ending the game and getting the bad ending in the process. This sees the Vault Dweller dipped in the vats, followed by the mutant army ransacking Vault 13. This is great for when you want to stick it to Vault 13 after playing through the game before, because as we know, the Vault Dweller isn't exactly welcomed back with open arms after their journey, so why not bring the horrors of the wasteland to them instead? In Fallout New Vegas, one of the first settlements the courier will likely come across is Prim. The NCR has a camp right outside, but can't seem to keep order now that a group of convicts has taken the town, forcing the citizens into hiding. The convicts have mostly taken control of the Bison Steve, a multi-story casino with a decrepit roller coaster surrounding it. Still, inside, we can find something the developers left behind that might leave you scratching your head. One way to visit each casino floor is by fixing the elevator, so couriers with high enough repair skills can use this shortcut when dealing with the convicts. This isn't the only button we can find, as if we no-clip through the ceiling, we can see another elevator switch suspended in the void. Interacting with it will prompt us to repair it, but it never fixes the button. This is likely just a leftover placeholder for the original prompt of the elevator, or perhaps even a reference to the top floor, which can be visited through the elevator. Whatever the case, this is still a cool find for people who like to look outside of the playable map for hidden gems, something that the Fallout games are no stranger to. In Fallout 3, we can come across a myriad of factions that each have their own agenda. While some seem to want to clean up the wasteland, others seem more intent on controlling resources or causing chaos. One group of people that we can meet are the children that call Little Lamplight home. This self-governing cluster of kids uses the safety of caverns until they reach the age of 18, when they are exiled to Big Town. If we visit Lamplight and then go talk to another faction of the wasteland, the Slavers of Paradise Falls, we can get an unmarked quest called The Kidnapper, which sees the lone wanderer tell Eulogy Jones that he should be collecting children from Little Lamplight to sell as enslaved people. Jones recommends finding the youngest, most naive child and luring them outside so one of the slavers can take them back to Paradise Falls. This leads us to Bumble. If we pass a speech check with the girl, we can convince her to go on an adventure, which leads to her being captured.
Why, hello, little girl. What a lovely dress you have.
Thank you, miss. We're going on an adventure.
You bet we are. Are you ready to go on the Adventure Express?
Oh boy, let's go now. Can we please?
Absolutely. In fact, I want you to have this friendship necklace. It's good luck. Wear it, and you'll never get lost.
Ow, it's all scratchy.
Don't fuss, my little girl. You'll get used to it.
Well, okay. I can't wait to tell Lucy about this adventure.
I'm sure she'll be so proud of you. Now we've got a big day ahead of us, so let's get going.
Returning to Jones will reward us with the Boogeyman's hood. While it looks identical to the Raider Wastehound helmet, it has a bit higher damage resistance. Just don't think about what it took to get this appropriately named headwear.
I did indeed, and she was well worth the effort. I found her a nice, loving home right away. It's so nice to be able to help people who need people, isn't it? It just warms the heart. But speaking of life's little rewards, here's yours. It doesn't look like much, but this helmet's reinforced like crazy. You'll find a use for it.
In Fallout, one of my favorite settlements is Junktown. The way the town is built feels just right, and there's a ton to do when we first show up. But I want to focus on an item that can only be found here and deep under the cathedral. In one of Gizmo's rooms, we can find this box of noodles, with the game letting us know that we have no idea what instant spaghetti is. There are only 2 of these boxes in the game, with this being by far the easiest to obtain. The other box of noodles is in the clutches of a super mutant guarding the cathedral. Hopefully you are not down here just for the noodles, as this item has no use in game, except of course, for being sold at vendors. This follows us to Fallout 2 as well, where the box of noodles is a bit less rare, with 5 being littered around the wasteland. They still have no use beyond selling them. The box itself is actually the real-life print of the 1940 Chef Boyardee spaghetti dinner, using the same graphics and shape of the box. This is interesting because we rarely see real-life brands in the Fallout universe, and it's usually an oversight. This box of noodles may never become the food it was designed to be. Still, the glory of instant spaghetti can live on through your inventory centuries after it was created. In Fallout 3, there are many places to find and explore. The Capital Wasteland seems to have something neat around almost every corner, and we can see one of the more interesting areas around the north end of the map. Oasis is a lush wonderland that sticks out like a sore thumb in the wasteland, as does the settlement's resident god figure, Harold. The FEV ghoul hybrid has come a long way from the west coast and simply wants to die by the time we meet him in Fallout 3. Of course, we can help Harold with his wish, as many options are given to finish the quest he gives us. Still, one hidden option is not only the easiest way to get bad karma, but it can also be the most fun. If we have a flamer or similar weapon in our inventory, note that not all flame weapons will work when burning Harold, still, when we have one that does, we can light him ablaze, bringing him to his goal of death immediately, which is accompanied by some terrible screams from the ghoul. What some players may have missed is that when we come back to Harold after doing this, his character model will have changed to a charred, burnt, and twisted version of his former self. Just some more great attention to detail that Bethesda added to Fallout 3. In Fallout, one of the most unusual items that you can find in the game is also one of the most rare. With only just a few of them littered around, one being in this shack in Junktown, the item is called You Have No Idea, and when we investigate the object, the game will tell us, upon further inspection, you still have no idea what this is. The cover says Cat's Paw, and there's a picture of a black cat on it, but that's all we have to go by during the events of Fallout. In the real world, this product is made in Canada, and the box contains anti-slip shoe covers, some cat's paws. It makes sense the Vault Dweller would not know what this is. It's only when we get to Fallout 2 that the mystery of this item in the game universe is solved, leading to one of the rarest items we can get in the game. The in-game description for the Cat's Paw in Fallout 2 states an issue of Cat's Paw magazine. This is the first time Fallout lets us know that in this universe, this is a publication of the adult variety. We get confirmation on this when we visit Miss Kitty, who is at the Cat's Paw in New Reno, a building that has the logo in neon on the side. Speaking with her, she will tell the Chosen One that this is an adult magazine, leading to some unique dialogue about how vague the description was in the past for the object. Miss Kitty will then ask the Chosen One to bring 10 copies for display at her place. If we have the issues of Cat's Paw with us, we can give them to her now, and we will be rewarded with the incredibly rare Cat's Paw issue number 5, which has a great article on energy weapons. Using this magazine is different than others. No time will pass, and unlike other skill books, you can increase energy weapons past 91%, which is capped for the others. This magazine will boost your skill by 10%. The cover is far more telling than the box art they used before, but I have always loved the cat logo on the original. Either way, rare item hunters will want to keep this around instead of cashing in on the experience, as it's a one-of-a-kind wasteland find. In Fallout 4, the Commonwealth is filled with places to discover and settlements for the sole survivor to call home. Not all areas we can build and take over are settlements though, and Diamond City can be a potential home base for the player. After hundreds of hours into Fallout 4, I only recently learned about this elevator. First off, I somehow missed this entire elevator in all of my playthroughs. Still, once we use the lift, we can talk to Geneva about purchasing a house in Diamond City. It will cost 2,000 caps to get the key to Home Plate, but we will find a lovely dwelling and a new fast travel location inside the city. It's important to note that Home Plate has far less building options than standard settlements, and that its lighting is pre-built into a fuse box, so scrapping everything here isn't recommended. Regardless, this is a nice little house right next to the Diamond City market that I only just recently discovered that you could purchase. But what about you? Did you know about this player home? Let me know in the comments below. In Fallout 3, one of the first settlements you will more than likely come across is Megaton. Built from old airplanes and inhabited by some of the nicest folks in the Capital Wasteland, Megaton acts as a perfect place to start our journey. One of the people we can meet in Megaton is Moira Brown. When we arrive in town, she is working on a book to help people have a better chance of surviving the wasteland. We can help her write this Wasteland Survival Guide, and we are rewarded throughout the quest pretty well by Moira. Still, Fallout 3 will also reward players who can't be bothered with this task, as if we convince Moira that she shouldn't continue her work on the Wasteland Survival Guide, we will be rewarded with the Dream Crusher perk. This perk will reduce the chance of an enemy critically hitting the Lone Wanderer by 50%, which can make it kind of useful as we travel later into Fallout 3, though doing this will result in negative karma. However, most players do not see this perk, as many will take the quest from Moira and complete the book, or simply ignore her while doing other things in the capital wasteland. Going this route will see Moira's repair skill rise, and we still get a discounted Craterside supply, but her dream of writing a book that could save hundreds of lives will be crushed. In Fallout 4, the sole survivor can find a ton of consumables on their journey through the Commonwealth. From helpful chems to wasteland delicacies, there is plenty to see in the Boston area. When speaking to the fine citizens of the wasteland, we can skip through the dialogue, which will cause the sole survivor to periodically interrupt the conversation.
That's what my... So what'll it...
So what kind of...
Anything that can...
Sure.
No.
However, suppose we drink some alcohol before we speak to the people. In that case, this will be changed to a more disoriented speech pattern with some funny lines replacing the typical ones, showing that the sole survivor is drunk.
Runtime conclusion. Robot enough for you, Smooth?
Yep. Not looking to buy right now.
Disappointing.
Did you say something about
That's right. So you need...
Ghoul?
You're looking at...
Sing it,
done
brother.
wonders.
Wait, you're 200?
Okay,
I agree.
Do you know...
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most interesting characters, who is often overlooked, is Emily Ortal. She's from Arroyo, the starting location of Fallout 2, which raises its own questions. Still, she also has quite the story if the courier has the stats to get her to open up. We meet Emily outside the Lucky 38. She wants us to bug Mr. House's network to get a glimpse at the tech that has kept him alive for centuries. It's here that we get one of the best ways to ask for caps with a barter check.
Right. We just want to find out what sort of technology Mr. House has used to stay alive for all these years. It could be of great benefit to the people we try to help, many of whom suffer from hard-to-diagnose illnesses. Ah, I see. I suppose I can give you some medical supplies for your efforts. I assure you they will be worth plenty of caps.
That is not the end of the unique dialogue though, as we can get more information from Emily with an intelligence check or a speech check, respectively.
This is important enough to the followers that we scrape together the caps required for the credit check. And I'm staying at Vault 21, which is pretty cheap, for the strip anyway. After 2 tries, I think I've learned enough. I'm sure there's something more promising I could be helping the other followers with. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you about the first time. I'd rather not talk about it if you don't mind. True. Alright. The first try was a little less professional. Someone important on the strip had access to some of House's technology. Specifically, a Securitron. And more specifically, the someone was Benny. I know, he shot you in the head and everything. But this was a while ago. I knew he was sleazy, but I didn't realize he was so cold-blooded.
Still, one line of dialogue was hidden away in Fallout New Vegas due to a developer error. After returning to Emily post-quest, the courier would have the option to pass a perception check to find out that she had slept with Benny. By normal means, this dialogue does not appear in the game, as the developers accidentally coded the game to check Emily's perception and not the player's. On PC, we can use mods or console commands to make this line appear.
Ugh, so gross. It was bad enough that I didn't get any data out of the Securitron. This is why I didn't want to talk about it. It only happened once. I chalk it up to sleep deprivation and one atomic cocktail too many. I take it you're speaking from experience. You're right, though. He's gone now, so I'm not gonna let it bother me anymore. Thanks.
In Fallout New Vegas, during the quest Oh My Papa, which will see the courier deciding the fate of the Great Khans, we can talk to Julie Farkas and hear her suggestions about the group. Julie will point us in the direction of Ezekiel, a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse who has studied the subject more than others. Only by doing this quest and speaking with Farkas can we unlock some unique dialogue that calls back to the first 2 Fallout games. When speaking to Ezekiel, he will tell us about how the Vault Dweller destroyed the Khans and that years later, they were wiped out again. which follows the quests we can do in Fallout and Fallout 2, as the Chosen One would wipe out the cons in Vault 15.
Oh my, yes. They're a fascinating tribe with a long and unfortunately tragic history. Their original incarnation, much farther out west, was almost completely wiped out by one of those itinerant heroes so common in the post-war years. Then, of course, the new cons suffered a similar fate, some say at the hands of the same hero, though of course the dates are all wrong for that.
In Goat Simulator 3, we can find a ton of Easter eggs and pop culture references. The game even starts with a terrific take on the Skyrim introduction.
Hey, you're finally awake. I'm your new owner. I will look back at you, but I need to look at the road.
This is not the only reference to a Bethesda series that we can find either, as we can find an incredible Fallout Easter egg among the suburban homes outside of Gothenburg. Coming to this area on the map, we can find a water tower that has scientists nesting at the top, with a quest called the Big Red Button becoming active. Going into the tower, if we start pressing buttons, we will see a cutscene showing a familiar looking bomb heading our way, which lands in the center of a cul-de-sac, and then we can finally check it out for ourselves. Running up to the bomb, we can headbutt it, which will cause it to detonate, leaving a crater in this once beautiful neighborhood. This rewards us with the Fallout Boy gear, a vault jumpsuit with the number 55 on it. Oddly enough, and perhaps unbeknownst to the dev team at Coffee Stain North, Vault 55 has been mentioned in the Fallout lore before, but only in the now non-canon Fallout Bible. The vault would remove all entertainment media from the dwellers in an experiment to see how that would affect the population. After the explosion, NPCs will mutate in the area, growing limbs randomly on their body. This is a wonderful Fallout Easter egg, and it was indeed a welcome surprise in this fun and unique world provided by Goat Simulator 3. In Fallout 2, there are so many small things to find. Out of all the Fallout games, I think Fallout 2 has some of the most interesting small details of the series. This extends to items that seemingly have no use at all. For instance, in Golgotha, we can dig up the rare gold tooth. The item description claims that it used to belong to Jules, but it's ours now. The reason it says this is because the only other gold tooth we can find in the game is in his inventory. It wouldn't make any sense to make a duplicate of the same item, so the description is the same no matter what tooth we inspect. Jules stands near the entrance to New Reno, scamming newcomers and doing what he can to survive. Still, rare item hunters may want to cut that last goal short to collect the gold tooth hiding in his inventory. The teeth have no use in-game other than to look cool in your stash or to sell to merchants. This makes this one of the rarest, most useless items in Fallout 2. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One can find themselves in all kinds of different places doing all sorts of different things, from prize fighting in New Reno to becoming a citizen in Vault City. Fallout 2 is ripe with things to see and quests to complete. There are far more nefarious reputation titles in Fallout 2 though, and one will require a shovel and a strong stomach. If the Chosen One has these things, we can find our fortune in the wastes by grave digging. Digging up a grave will result in -5 karma and also give the player the Gravedigger reputation title. This isn't the end though, as each grave we dig after this will hit the karma by another 5 points, making this a perfect career for someone who wants to do a low karma playthrough. However, a few graves will not give us this reputation, most of which involve quests like Anna Winslow's grave in the Den, Coffin Willie's grave in Golgotha, and the Fallout shelter that can be found in the Gangster Cemetery as well. While taking up this practice can result in getting some good gear, the people of the wasteland will start to dislike you the more you dig. Still, to some, the loot is worth it. In Fallout 4, we can come across Hubris Comics. This rundown old comic shop is deceptively large inside and holds some great loot for anyone who's doing a melee build during their Commonwealth adventure. This shop is famous for chronicling the stories of superheroes, and we can still find some of their gear inside. As soon as we enter, we find Grognak's axe behind a display case with an advanced lock. A terminal with the same skill requirement can also do the trick when opening the case. The comic book icon's weapon deals bleed damage to enemies and has a boosted stagger chance. The AP required to use the axe in VATS is decently low as well, making this two-handed weapon a threat on the battlefield. Upstairs, we can complete this look by looting the lockers to find the Grognak costume. For just a costume, it has some decent resistance stats with damage at 10 and energy and radiation hanging at 15. The best part of this fit is the stat effects, with a +2 to strength and a 25% boost to melee weapons, making Grognak's axe that much more powerful when wearing this outfit. Grognak is an icon in the Fallout universe, and these references to him with in-game items are amusing to see, so go forth and smash thy enemies, and look damn good doing it. Thank you to Steven the 429th from the Discord server for suggesting this one. Make sure to check the description below for links to the server if you want to chat about Fallout. In Fallout New Vegas, coming to the strip can be a big moment. The lights and sounds can be a lot to take in. The New Vegas strip is filled with people to meet and quests to do, one of which brings us to the Oasis Theater in the Tops Casino. Speaking with Tommy Tarini, we can get the Talent Pool quest, which sees the courier gather up acts for performances the casino provides. One of the acts that we can meet is Hadrian, a ghoul that performs stand-up comedy at the Atomic Wrangler. Once the quest is complete, we can return to the Oasis Theater to watch the various performances of the people we recruited for Tommy, including Hadrian's, who will have some unique dialogue based on the courier's special stats. The ghoul will make remarks based on how low or high each stat is, with each attribute having 2 bits of commentary according to its rank, making for some funny personalized jokes during his show.
Somebody told me the other day you were bright. I wasn't sure if you meant smart or radioactive. Buddy, you look tough enough to drink a pint of glowing water. Why don't you do us all a favor and try it? This guy right here, he's got an angel looking over his shoulder. If I were him, I'd get a restraining order. Hey, look at this guy. I didn't know they let Brahmin into this joint. My friend, you've got style, grace, and charm. The style of a feral ghoul, the grace of a super mutant, and the charm of a Deathclaw.
In Halo Infinite, it seems the possibilities are endless when it comes to the Forge. This game mode will allow players to craft any world they can imagine and use it as a level to play with friends, and some people have made some truly amazing things. One of the best I have seen, though I may be biased, is from a user named Brian Pfaffer, who recreated the entire city of Megaton as a level in Halo Infinite. The attention to detail on this map is incredible, and you can tell Brian really put a lot of time into the creation of this map. It features all of the landmarks that we have come to love around the Megaton map, like Raiderside Supply, Moriarty's Saloon, and of course, the epic centerpiece of the atomic bomb in the middle of town. We can also find a faithful recreation of Good Neighbor from the same user. Brian has done an incredible job of bringing the Fallout series into this universe, and these Forge creations are genuinely awe-inspiring. I will include the download links for these maps in the video's description, so if you play Halo Infinite, make sure to show some love and check them out for yourself. In Fallout New Vegas, Doc Mitchell's house is the first place we gain control of the courier. The good doctor has spent the last couple of days nursing us back to health, and he will get players ready for the upcoming adventure in the Mojave. One of the most noticeable things about Bethesda games is the Gamebryo engine, now known as the Creation Engine. Fallout New Vegas was developed by Obsidian using this game engine. Because of this, we can find a lot of dev tricks that we see in other Bethesda games. We can find one here in Doc Mitchell's house. If we no-clip through the roof and locate this note, we can see that it's a placeholder for the hardcore mode explanation. This typically pops up as we leave the house while talking to Mitchell on the way out, but we can also trigger it this way. This is placed here because the Gamebryo engine needs a reference point for the dialogue on screen, so the developers hide it outside of the map to keep everything tidy. In High on Life, we take the role of a human warped into an alien world and thrust into a role as a bounty hunter, shooting our way through hordes of funky spacemen and exploring the world offered in High on Life is a real treat. But so is the trademark humor of developer Squanch Games. While a lot of the funny bits come from the hilarious voice acting and visual gags in the game, we can unlock an achievement that pays homage to the Fallout series in one of the darkest yet funniest ways possible. After heading towards the slums, we can come across a kid that likes to run his mouth.
I'm Slumsley. Hey, fresh meat, guess what? I got my GED while you were gone. I'm going to community college.
When we try to shoot at him, our gun, Kenny, will stop us with some moral objections.
Whoa, what are you doing? Come on, he's just a kid. Don't shoot him.
Oh, you don't want to
I am not shooting a kid.
If we try enough times though, we will successfully shoot the kid. leading to some funny dialogue and an achievement called Fallout Doesn't Let You Do This.
You... Shoot me. You shot me, I'm dead.
All right there, are you happy now? Well, I didn't think we'd be allowed to kill him. Normally, killing children in games isn't allowed, but he's dead. We killed this kid. Are you happy now? We killed a kid. A kid is dead now. There goes our E for everybody rating.
This is an excellent reference to the fact that the classic Fallout games patched out killing the child NPCs around the wasteland and further stretching into the Bethesda titles where children are immune to damage. This is a fun jab at the Fallout series in an absolutely fantastic game. In Fallout New Vegas, if we head to Camp Searchlight, we can find a church to the southeast. The area is heavily radiated due to the Legion attack, and most of the living beings that we see here are ghouls. Though if we have the Wild Wasteland trait, we can get our hands on some of the best explosives in the game. We can enter the basement of this church, where some golden geckos will be waiting for us. Still, after dealing with them, we will see the Wild Wasteland notification when coming to the table at the center of the room. Sitting on the table, we can see a box with 3 grenades inside, all with white crosses on them, and a message painted on another box that says, Holy Hand Grenades, pull pin and count to 5, with the number 5 crossed out and a 3 written next to it. These grenades pack quite the punch, having the highest DPS out of all explosives in Fallout New Vegas. When thrown, after a short wait time, what amounts to a miniature atomic blast destroys every enemy in the area and will damage an unprepared courier as well. Interestingly enough, the grenades lose their trademark white cross when they are thrown, but most people won't mind considering how much damage these mini nukes can do. This is a weapon the devs wanted to include in Fallout 2, but we wouldn't see them officially until New Vegas. Of course, the grenades are a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which features the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Fallout is filled with Monty Python Easter eggs, and this is one of the best. In Fallout New Vegas, choosing a perk when leveling up can be a tough decision. Sometimes people may want to check out something new or find the best boost for their current build. One perk everyone will want to avoid is added with the Dead Money DLC. At first glance, it doesn't seem that bad. Still, due to an error in coding, it should be skipped by every player of New Vegas, the In Shining Armor perk, promising to give the player a +5 damage threshold against energy weapons while wearing any metal armor and an additional +2 DT when wearing reflective eyewear. This may seem great for fans of metal armor, but in reality, this perk does nothing at all. When the game checks to see what weapon type should be boosted, it gets the term energy as a reply. The problem is, Fallout New Vegas uses the phrase energy weapons instead, meaning that the game has no way to add the damage threshold correctly, completely breaking the perk. So while you may be struggling with what perk to pick the next time you level up in New Vegas, skipping this one is not only recommended, it's required. Thank you to Kevin the Dragon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, one of the vaults you will have to go through on your way to finding your dad is Vault 112. Most vaults are hard to find, but 112 isn't listed in any Vault Tech terminals and is cleverly hidden under Smith Casey's garage. Inside, we will be confronted by a Robobrain and asked to put on a Vault 112 jumpsuit before taking a seat in one of the Tranquility Loungers. Unlike most NPCs in Fallout 3, if we attack the Robobrains, they will not become hostile. The robots here in the vault are marked as essential, so they will only be knocked unconscious in battle. While speaking with the robot is the easiest way to obtain a Vault 112 jumpsuit, it's not the only place we can find them, as if we head to the clinic that overlooks the loungers, we can discover 2 more resting on a table. Obviously, we don't see anything stacked up on this table save for a globe and a few clipboards. Still, if the lone wanderer approaches the area, we will see that 2 vault jumpsuits are resting here. For some reason, they do not visibly appear for the player, but we can see the item description as we highlight them. Strangely enough, if we add these suits to our inventory and then drop them, they will now be visible to the player in the game world. It's hard to say what causes this to happen, but I cannot think of a better example of a hidden item in a Fallout game than objects we literally can't see. In Fallout 2, we can find a bunch of things when looting around and searching the environment. Still, there is one item we can get our hands on that is only found on 4 NPCs across the wasteland, and it is completely useless. People like Josh, the bartending undertaker in Reading, or Bill at Salvatore's bar in New Reno. have pocket lint in their inventory. While most random miscellaneous items in the classic Fallout games can at least be sold for caps, the lint has no value. Due to its rarity, including one being on a scientist in the end-game area of the oil rig, this is truly a collectible for rare item hunters who like to show off the most hard-to-find things in the wasteland in their highwayman's trunk. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is Cerulean Robotics. The old shop is hidden away in a corner of Freeside and is home to everyone's favorite robot, Fisto. However, suppose you have the Wild Wasteland trait. In that case, this location becomes the scene of a pretty humorous encounter and a great reference. It all starts when we leave the building for the first time, where the courier will then be greeted by Maud and her gang.
Lucky what we have here, ladies. Another unsuspecting Ponce. Over here!
These three old ladies make up the Freeside gang, Maud's Muggers, and they are looking to make us the next victim in their crime spree. This encounter is bound to catch people off guard the first time they stumble upon it, and the ensuing battle is one of the funniest in New Vegas. This group is a reference to Hell's Grannies, a gang from a Monty Python sketch that parodied the Hell's Angels, so this reference goes pretty deep. Regardless, make sure to watch out for grandmas in spring dresses, because you may just end up with a rolling pin upside your head. In Fallout 2, we can find many items that will help the Chosen One with their journey, some rarer than others. One of the best things you can do in the classic Fallout games is to search every shelf, desk, and locker you see, as you never know what will be hiding, just waiting to become a part of your inventory. A lot of rare items can be found in the New Reno mob cemetery, Golgotha, which in itself walks the line of being a hidden location. Someone could play through all of Fallout 2 and never see the site show up on their map, as it has to be discovered through dialogue that can be missed. Once we make our way to Golgotha, searching one of the graves will turn up one of the coolest items in Fallout 2, the Mirrored Shades. The item description reads, "This is a pair of fashionable and deadly looking mirrored shades. Just having them in your inventory makes you feel cool." The grave site is one of two places we can find these sunglasses in-game, the other being in the inventory of Mason, New Reno crime boss Luis Salvatore's right-hand man. Putting the shades in one of your active slots will boost your charisma by 1, making the glasses the only non-consumable item in the game to do so. This is not increased by stacking both of the mirrored shades when equipping them. Not only do the mirrored shades look awesome in-game, but any rare item hunter will want to add them to their inventory as a nice trophy of their time in the Fallout 2 wasteland. Thank you to Ranger of the Mojave from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, there are a ton of raider gangs that will try and accost the courier at any chance they get. The Fiends, the Vipers, and the Jackals are just a few of the groups of riffraff that you will likely find roaming the Mojave, and they can cause quite a bit of trouble. However, there is one NPC that we can find in the game that shares no allegiance to these groups as far as we can tell, and her body can be found on the overpass by Novak. Simply called Raider, she is the only NPC in the game to have this name. While we see a bunch of raiders in Fallout 3, by the time we hit New Vegas, all of them are named after the faction they belong to, like the three I previously mentioned. Presumably, this raider was heading towards Novak, and either Boone or Manny took her out before she was a problem. This is an excellent piece of environmental storytelling and an exciting find for people into rare encounters. In Fallout New Vegas, during the introduction video to the game, we see the New Vegas Strip. The difference here is that we see an earlier rendition of the Strip, one without the gates that separate it into 3 sections. This was how the Strip was originally going to look in New Vegas. Due to memory restrictions, the developers were forced to add the gates to keep the game stable. Today, over a decade after the release of New Vegas, newer computers can still have trouble opening up the Strip like this, which speaks to the devs' reasoning for the split. Still, coming into New Vegas with everything opened up like this is a very nice touch. Seeing all the way down the road, you can really take in the scope of what post-war Vegas has to offer. What we got in the final game worked just fine. The solution to the memory issue felt lore-friendly and allowed us to travel the Strip lag-free, while keeping the game stable. Looking back at the original design is neat, as we can see what could have been, and New Vegas as a city looks far more impressive. In Fallout 4, during the Automatron DLC, we will come to the Robco Sales and Service Center. This is where the sole survivor will confront the Mechanist and her army of robots, but it's also home to a charming old-school gaming Easter egg. While making our way to the Mechanist lair, we can jump up this wall and find a Symbol Monkey and a Jangles the Moon Monkey doll set up to look like they're playing video games in this corner. Of course, with some Nuka-Cola Quantum nearby. The game displayed on the screen looks to be a version of Pong, making this the oldest game to appear in the Fallout universe, as by the time of Fallout 4, Pong would have been released 315 years ago. This is an excellent reference to the history of video games and a delightful scene to see two friends gaming in the wasteland. This is about the only nice thing at this location, as the rest is a hellish slog through mechanical enemies, so soak it in while you can. In Fallout New Vegas, when we travel to the Big Empty, there are plenty of sci-fi shenanigans to get up to. Like much of the Mojave, having the Wild Wasteland perk here adds some great spice to your playthrough, and there is one scene that we can find that calls back to a classic fable. At the construction site near the edge of the map, amongst the crystals protruding from the ground, we can find 7 intact garden gnomes, which are pretty rare outside this encounter. The gnomes have pickaxes and lanterns at their feet, and in the center of the group is a grave. This is one big reference to Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. The garden decorations are arranged to look as if they are mining, the same profession the dwarfs from the story have. The grave is likely here to represent Snow White, and inside all we can find is some random ammo. There is some good loot nearby though, as we can grab a Valence Radioscintiator that sits on top of the crane. This is an interesting sight to come across as we are traveling around Big Mountain, and it offers rare item hunters a boost to an otherwise incredibly scarce item with the intact garden gnomes. It just leaves me wondering who is in the grave and what exactly happened to them. In Fallout 2, we are faced with many tongue-in-cheek references and adult themes throughout our journey in the wasteland. One of the things the developers worked extra hard on in Fallout 2 is the sex formula, along with its various perks. This is not a joke. There is a complicated math equation to find the Chosen One's sexual prowess, which can affect a few different parts of your journey. One of the cut reputation titles for Fallout 2 was Virgin of the Wastes. This would stick to the Chosen One until their first sexual encounter. The reputation status does not stop there though, as if the Chosen One continues this behavior, we can improve our sexual dialogue with one of these perks. If the Chosen One has sex 10 times, they will receive the opposite of the Virgin of the Waste title with the Sexpert title. This will improve the dialogue around sexual situations with the player. Seeing as Fallout 2 is, at the time of this recording, the only Fallout game in which you can become a porn star, this is not really a surprise. Still, it's a nice semi-hidden reward for the more adventurous Wasteland Wanderers. In Fallout New Vegas, with the Old World Blues DLC installed, one of the traits we can pick while creating our character is Skilled. This grants +5 to all skills, but debuffs our gained experience by 10%. For me, the trade-off is far worth it as we gain experience completing quests and doing various other things. It just takes slightly longer to level up, especially the higher our level gets. Regardless, this trait becomes much more helpful when we take advantage of a bug at the beginning of the game. Traveling far enough away from Goodsprings will bring up a prompt asking if we want to change our character. It's here that we can get more bang for our buck. Going back through and remaking our character, when we come to the trait selection screen again, if we choose Skilled, it will double our skill boost, adding another 5 while the debuff remains the same. We can reapply this process in the Old World Blues DLC at the Sinks Auto Dock, bringing the total to 15 bonus points for every skill. And if that 10% debuff on experience is bugging you, it's here that if we remove the skilled trait, the bonus skill points remain while the debuff is removed. This makes the skilled trait likely one of the most overpowered choices in Fallout New Vegas when following this path. This is why every time I go to the Mojave, I pick Wild Wasteland and Skilled. The pair can't be beat. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the perks we can pick as long as the courier is level 8 is Sneering Imperialist. This boosts damage against raiders, junkies, and tribals by 15% and increases our VAT's hit chance against them. This isn't the only thing the perk is good for, as occasionally we will see some unique dialogue, some of which we can find in the Honest Hearts DLC. The first time we sneer is when entering Angel Cave, where we get a new way to respond to the dead horses.
Hoi, Auslander Zuka Joshua Graham? Scheiß! Would kill you myself. But Joshua says no harm to visitors until harm done to us. Go, Auslander. Meet Joshua. We see how long you talk like that.
The most notable comes from the end of the DLC though. After we side with Joshua Graham and trek Zion with him, he will confront Salt Upon Wounds. With Sneering Imperialist, we can encourage the Burned Man to eliminate the White-Legged's leader.
You took advantage of us at New Canaan to drive us out. And like the dogs of Caesar you are, you followed us to Zion. And now you stand on holy ground, a temple to God's glory on earth. The only use for an animal in our temple is sacrifice. Kale wachene conserva o. You understand me, don't you? Don't you?
Outman. Kunaman mad. He killed all white legs. You talk. You stop. Baika cur. You devil.
There. That's it. It's finished. When they hear what happened here, the white men crawl back to their great Salt Lake. If Caesar doesn't kill them, they'll wither and die like the cursed mongrels they are. Come, let's find Daniel. Tomorrow we'll be here soon, and there is still much work to be done.
In Space Wreck, we are looking for a fuel chip, and the search leads the captain through various dangerous areas throughout space. The game is heavily inspired by the classic Fallout games, and we can see references to the Fallout series as soon as we start our adventure. First, the opening narration is presented very similarly to Ron Perlman's performance in the Fallout series.
In the 22nd century, humanity is spread across the solar system. Wild capitalization of the markets has sparked bloody clashes between corporations and asteroid miners, spiraling into anarchy.
For a more direct and adorable Fallout reference, when we get our first look at the cockpit, we can see a stuffed Brahmin hanging from the roof. These cows, of course, come from the Fallout series, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for Easter eggs and references to the Fallout universe in Space Wreck. Space Wreck just launched on Steam and is the passion project of one developer who leads most of the production, with help from a game artist that just wanted to improve the project after what they saw the lead was working on, and a music composer from Ukraine who did the work for this game while his city was being bombed during the war. Consider checking out this indie project if you like classic Fallout and space adventure games. Space Wreck offers brutal combat and an exciting story to play through with several possible endings. The link to the game will be in the comments below. This is not an ad. I have not been paid or given the game for free. I just like the way it plays, and I love any type of game that pays homage to the classic Fallout series. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can stumble across on the Strip is Vault 21, or what it has become now. Before the war, the vault was hidden under the Strip and actually managed to keep the dwellers safe, functioning as it should and using gambling as a problem solver throughout its existence. It wasn't until Mr. House used his influence to change the location to an attraction post-war that we would see the building we see today, its neon sign fitting perfectly into the New Vegas skyline. This does cause some conflict with the snow globe that represents the Strip, as we can assume these trinkets were made pre-war, as House has been collecting them for that long. Strangely, we see the Vault 21 sign in the depiction of the globe. Obviously, the developers wanted to make the snow globe look like the Strip we see in the game, and the sign is perfect for the silhouette. Still, this does conflict with the story we hear about Vault 21. Perhaps the Strip's snow globe was made post-war by a handy wastelander. Whatever the case, these little worlds are the perfect collectible for a Fallout game, and Vault-Tec hit a home run with these promotional items. In Fallout 2, one of the locations we will come across is the town of Gecko. Not only is Gecko home to everyone's favorite FEV reject, Harold, but it is also the only place we can find a decently rare item in the game. Speaking with Gordon of Gecko, we can learn just a bit about the religious group that follows the Brain. If we kill or steal from Gordon, we can see a talisman in his inventory, and the item description reads, a talisman which is worn by the followers of the brain. There are 3 of these charms in the game, all of which can be found on ghouls inside Gecko. This item is a terrific reference to Logan's Run, where a similar necklace is featured. Before we leave Gordon, we should loot the cheesy poos from the locker. Now, we can head down the ladder to the access tunnels. Once under the city, we can make our way to the back chamber and finally come face to face with this brain. He's the brother of King Rat, whom we met under Trapper Town in Klamath. This whole encounter is pretty easy to miss. Still, if we have the cheesy poofs in our inventory, we can get unique dialogue from the brain about how much he loves the snack. Most believe the brain and his less intelligent ghoul friend Zomac are a reference to Pinky and the Brain, as the giant rat in Fallout 2 has plans to take over the world. And you help him every time Gecko's problems get solved. In Fallout New Vegas, we find the diamond in the rough, the New Vegas Strip. Out of all of the post-apocalyptic settlements that we come across in the Fallout universe, the Strip has got to be one of my top favorites. As soon as we enter, we are blasted with music and lights, people milling about, and giant functioning casinos on every corner. Though, when it comes to the tops, there is some interesting artwork that we can check out inside. The casino is no stranger to unique design. The entrance is beautiful and fantastic decor art can be seen everywhere. From molded ceiling lights to sculptures on the walls, the tops is a far cry from the wasteland outside the New Vegas border. One of the paintings we can find, in multiple locations, shows Tenpenny Tower. This, of course, is a place that we can visit and call home in Fallout 3. Still, we are 2,400 miles away from the capital wasteland during Fallout New Vegas, so seeing it pictured here can be a bit jarring. A man in a cowboy hat and duster can be seen in the picture, which I assume could possibly be Lucas Sims, though why he would be out of Megaton visiting Tenpenny Tower is a different question. This is not the only time we see odd art in New Vegas that seems to come from Fallout 3, but it is one of the only landmarks that we can find from the Capital Wasteland featured in the game. Now, when you go to the Tops Casino, you won't be able to unsee it. You're welcome. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the unique weapons we can find is inside the Dinobite gift shop storage. Simply known as That Gun, it's a powerful 5.56 pistol and, by a large margin, my favorite in the game. This isn't the first time we have seen the handgun in the Fallout series, which is why it has such a strange name, as most classic Fallout fans referred to the previous version of the weapon as That Gun. In the first Fallout game, we could receive the 223 pistol from a quest, but by the time we hit Fallout 2, the gun is no longer unique. This version of the weapon uses a different caliber of ammo, but the design remains the same. That is because these guns are based on Deckard's pistol in Blade Runner, making this not only one of the best handguns in the game, but one hell of a great movie reference as well. Thank you to Bones from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, one of the unmarked locations we can find deep within the city is the South Boston Church. On first look, it seems this boarded up building cannot be entered, but if we head through the graveyard, we can find an entrance to the cellar. Inside, the first thing our eye is drawn to is the beautiful altar dedicated to a cat, whom the Fallout 4 Vault Dweller's survival guide identifies as Mr. Tittles. We can find a live cat here, next to a pile of skeletons, which seems to implicate the animal in the demise of these people. At least that's the vibe I got when I saw the scene. There is a fully assembled motorcycle down here in the church's underbelly that's in pretty good shape as well. Still, more interestingly, there is a hidden portrait of a colonial-era man behind the shrine to Mr. Tittles. Unmarked locations are always fun to explore in the Fallout universe, and this is one of the more mysterious ones, so make sure to come pay your respects to the cat god the next time you find yourself in downtown Boston. In the original Fallout, we find a world filled with dark humor, despair, and a ton of fun Easter eggs to brighten the mood. Some can even be found before we start playing the game. From the main menu, if you were to click on credits and then type boom while they were rolling, you would be greeted with a picture of Tim Cain, one of the co-creators of the series. After he's on screen for a second, his head will explode. Doing this with modern resolutions will have a weird effect on the video due to how it was added to the scene. This is just one of the great secrets the first Fallout game holds, and it's always awesome to find these types of things in our favorite games. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find a thieves' ransom of different plants and animals out in the Mojave, just waiting for the courier to harvest their resources. One thing I didn't learn until after a long time with the game is that one of the most common plants in the Mojave is also one of the most addictive, the Coyote tobacco plant. I ran a poll on Twitter to see how many players knew about the tobacco addiction that can occur in Fallout New Vegas, and it seems I wasn't alone in missing this little tidbit. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well for more polls like this and daily Fallout factoids. We can find a ton of these plants around the Mojave, and eating the Coyote tobacco chew will increase our perception and agility by 1 for 4 minutes. Eat enough of these plants though, and the courier will become addicted to tobacco, draining the charisma and perception stat by 1 until cured. While cigarettes exist in the world of Fallout and we can collect them in mass, New Vegas doesn't allow players to use them as consumables, making the Coyote tobacco chew the only way we can consume the plant, besides when crafting black coffee, which does not cause addiction in game. So keep this in mind when looking for a little perk up in the desert. The withdrawal may not be worth it. In Fallout, one of the rarest items we can find is located in Junktown, next to the Crash House. Here we can find a small dusty box of some sort, and the in-game description reads, "A television dinner. You're not sure, but it's definitely not edible. You're not quite sure it ever was." Of course, we recognize this as a frozen dinner, but the Vault Dweller doesn't quite get how someone could ever eat this, and rightfully so. Much like the Cat's Paw magazine that we can find, this object's appearance is taken from a real-life counterpart, the Swanson Beef Pot Roast TV dinner. This is the only place that we can find some dusty box of some sort in the entirety of Fallout, unlike in Fallout 2, where the item is rare, but we can grab 4 around the wasteland. The classic Fallout games loved poking fun at modern day norms. The inclusion of a frozen dinner that someone 200 years later doesn't consider edible, even when it was made, is a great example of the humor the series is known for. In Fallout 3, we explored the Capital Wasteland in one of the best adventures the series offers. The Washington, D.C. area is a fantastic choice for the Fallout setting, and Fallout 3 has many things to find during our time in its world. Even before we leave Vault 101, while we are growing up, we can find a ton of interesting and unique bits that we won't see anywhere else in the game. This starts as early as when we first gain control of the Lone Wanderer as a toddler. Typically, we can't see our character in the third person during this time as there are no toddler models in the game. Due to this, Bethesda uses a trick that we can clearly see by hacking the camera in this section of the game, where the Lone Wanderer is scaled down to give the illusion of being a child. When pushing the activate button while in this part of the game, the Lone Wanderer will make baby talk noises. These were provided by studio head Todd Howard's son, Jake, on his first birthday. A lovely time capsule for this legendary game developer. We can pick up a toy and start moving it around. Doing so will complete a hidden objective. Still, the toy box itself has a unique mark on the side that we do not find anywhere else in the game. The fun doesn't stop once we are at our 10th birthday party either. Speaking with Old Lady Palmer will add a sweet roll to our inventory. This is perhaps one of the rarest food items in the game, as this is the only place that we can find the dessert in Fallout 3. As far as I can tell, there is no way to keep the sweet roll past this part of the game, as when the quest is complete and we move on to the goat exam, the inventory is wiped and there's no container to place it in for later, so make sure to enjoy it now. Sneaking up the stairs, we can hear the Overseer talking negatively with Officer Kendall, something I've covered in a past video. We can also pickpocket Kendall for 2 stim packs, which for some reason doesn't affect karma.
High velocity tools is essential to survival.
In Fallout New Vegas, the places we visit leave a lasting impression on any courier wandering the Mojave. The vast deserts offer many locations for us to see and explore. Still, some have been cut from the game, even though we can still reach these destinations with console commands. One such place is a Vault-Tec Vault, number 74. The strange thing about this vault is that we can first see the files for it in Fallout 3's GEC tutorial, while only being able to visit the vault in Fallout New Vegas. When we arrive at Vault 74, one of the first things that will catch your eye is that the door says 108. This is likely because the devs had no reason to update the door, as the vault ultimately would not make it into the final game. we still get a quest called Exploring Vault 74. This will require us to enter the vault and make our way through the mainly empty corridors and various raiders patrolling the inside until finally reaching the Overseer's office. Picking up a lone holotape in the office will complete the quest, and the log reads, Data log number 101478. The vault has been breached. There was not enough power to level 5. God have mercy on our souls. This is an interesting find, as it's fun to speculate what could have been going on in this vault that seemingly was overrun by raiders before the courier shows up. What do you think could have been the plan for Vault 74? Is there anything fun you can think to do with this vault? If so, let me know down in the comments below. In Fallout New Vegas, many factions are waiting to meet the courier in the Mojave. From squabbling tribes to organized military outfits and everything in between, the desert is filled with groups that can be visited by the courier. Throughout our journey, the gangs of the Mojave will take notice of our actions, which will reward the player with reputation titles within the factions, one of which is Wild Child. This occurs when the courier has enough fame points with a group to be idolized, but also enough infamy points to be vilified as well. Suppose we have this reputation with the NCR by the time we work for the Crimson Caravan. In that case, we can get some unique dialogue during one of the quests that wouldn't be there otherwise. Alice McLafferty will ask the courier to convince a problematic employee, Henry Jameson, to resign from his position as CEO of the Crimson Caravan Mojave branch. As an NCR Wild Child, we can confide in Henry our true intentions with the NCR and give him some advice. New Vegas is filled with dialogue, and it's always fun to find the hidden speech lines throughout our quest that take a particular skill or experience in game to show up.
How's it going?
Shove off, you're making my luck turn bad. Fuck no! No matter what that old bitch McLafferty says, my dad said I could be in charge of the New Vegas branch. Besides, I got into a little money trouble with the Omertas. If I quit the Crimson Caravan, how am I supposed to get the money to gamble? Yeah, alright. If McLafferty complains long enough, my folks might haul me back to California just to shut her up. Tell the old hag I'm gone.
In Fallout New Vegas, when we come to the Strip, we have a few big casinos that we can visit. Each of them checks with patrons at the door to make sure they don't bring any weapons inside the building. Though with a little skill, we can sneak in quite a few past the guards. One guy that helps with this a bit by selling confirmed hideable weapons is Mr. Holdout, who leans against Gamora, waiting to push his wares on the various people that visit the Strip. We can get a discount from Holdout if we have negative reputation with the Strip. Still, we can impress him more and get a small bit of unique dialogue if the courier has the Wild Child reputation for the area.
Hey there, friend. A bit of advice. You look like you could use some protection. Lucky for you, I got what you need. My stock and trade? All kinds of easy-to-hide weapons for slipping into and out of casinos. They won't give you a second glance. It's an honor to have my wares used by such a wild badass. Cuts on the house, friend.
In Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer can find a ton of ways to boost their skills and stats. While most of this happens while leveling up, we can find some perks and upgrades by doing quests. Rivet City is one of, if not the biggest, settlement in the capital wasteland. Inside the Rusty Tanker, we can talk to several people who are looking for help. One of which is a stranger from a strange land, Dr. Zimmer, who is from the Commonwealth, more precisely, the Institute. Zimmer is looking for an escaped android and will give the replicated man quest to the player. Keep in mind, the quest will be spoiled past this point in the video. The clues we find will lead us to Pinkerton, a doctor held up inside the bottom of the ship, who will reveal to the Lone Wanderer that the android Zimmer is looking for is Harkness, the security lead for Rivet City. At this point, we come to a crossroads. We can tell Harkness about his robot past or turn him into Zimmer. And it's when we do the latter that we are rewarded with a perk that some may think is worth the sense happiness, Wired Reflexes. This perk will increase your VATS hit chance by 10% across the board, thanks to an implant offered by Zimmer. Most people I have talked to usually side with Harkness and have never acquired the Wired Reflexes perk. Still, it can be quite good, regardless of how evil it is to obtain it. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the unmarked locations we can come across is a rundown old neon sign shop known as Zaps. It's one of the harder to miss locations in South Vegas, as a bunch of unique objects are placed around the building. One of the objects is misidentified in the Fallout New Vegas game guide as being the same feat as the Tallboy statue in Paradise Falls. Looking at the model from Fallout 3, we can see that the feet are not the same color, not in the same pose, and are seemingly not the same model as the feet we see behind Zaps in New Vegas. If these somehow are the same feet that we see on the Tallboy statue, then Obsidian did an incredible job of changing it completely. This is just the beginning, as when we come inside, we will see Duke. This fiend boss stands at the top of the staircase, guarding the administration room and taking pot shots at the various mines and extinguishers that are littering the area. Duke is one of the only fiends not wearing traditional faction armor. While he is a named NPC, he has no interaction with the player character outside of being hostile. The most interesting thing about Duke is that he is one of only 5 characters in New Vegas to be flagged with a very evil karma rating. Past Duke and inside the room that he's guarding, we can find a couple of Nuka-Cola quartz. Still, more interestingly, we can find an upside down first aid kit on the wall here, its latches facing upwards. Moving to the terminal, we can see that it refers to this location as McMurray's Neon Sign Designs. This could be a former name of the business or just an oversight on the developer's end, but it's curious nonetheless. Places like this can be found all over the Mojave, with bizarre things to discover and hidden gems to collect. Zap's neon signs stands out due to the many odd things that we can find in such a small area.
What did you just say to me? 'Cause you sure as hell got my attention now.